Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, Israel promises to strike back at Iran, saying it broke the ceasefire announced by President Trump with missile attacks. We're going to bring you the story from Jerusalem. And before the ceasefire went into effect, a devastating missile strike on the Israeli city of Beersheba, killing 4 people. Here at home, a devastating heat wave covering much of the United States, taking temperatures to 100 degrees or higher in some areas and close, and the importance of the biblical practice of prayer and fasting and how they can have a positive impact on your life. All those stories and more right now on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
It is Tuesday, June 24th, going to begin this half hour in the Middle East, where Israel is accusing Iran of already breaking a ceasefire after President Trump announced that ceasefire Monday night on Truth Social. Iran denies breaking the ceasefire, but Israel is promising to retaliate. CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell brings us the story now from Jerusalem.
Israel and Iran agreed to President Trump's ceasefire announcement, but within hours, Iran fired 2 missiles toward northern Israel. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz ordered the IDF to strike Tehran. Just before the ceasefire began, a deadly Iranian missile slammed into the southern Israeli town of Beersheba. President Trump posted the ceasefire announcement on Monday night. Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire. He followed that with another post that said, Israel and Iran came to me almost simultaneously and said, peace. I knew the time was now. The world and the Middle East are the real winners. After Trump's announcement, the Israeli government released a statement and said it achieved the main goals of its military operations against Iran. Israel has removed a dual immediate existential threat, both in the nuclear field and in the field of ballistic missiles. In addition, the IDF achieved complete air control over the skies of Tehran, inflicted severe damage on the military leadership, and destroyed dozens of central Iranian government targets. In the past 2 days, the IDF also hit Evin Prison, the headquarters of the Bajis, and the Israel destruction clock inside Tehran.
These are not sites that have strategic significance, but they have immense political significance. They are the pillars, if you will, of this horrendous regime. And by bombing them, Israel has weakened that regime. And so ultimately, the greatest guarantee we have for a non-nuclear, non-dangerous, non-threatening Iran is by the removal of the regime.
Also on Monday, Reza Pahlavi, the son of the late Shah of Iran, presented himself as a figure who can unify the country if the Iranian government collapses. He said the regime is on its last legs.
The Islamic Republic is collapsing. Credible reports indicate that Ali Khamenei's family and the family of senior regime officials are making preparations to flee Iran.
It remains to be seen if this ceasefire will provide a lifeline to the Ayatollah, or if the 12-day war has so weakened the regime that the people of Iran could rise up to overthrow the government. In an ominous statement, the head of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization said it plans to restart their nuclear program.
And Chris Mitchell joins us now from Israel with more. So, Chris, Israeli officials promised to retaliate against Iran for violating the ceasefire. How will Israel strike back?
Well, the question right now, Ephraim, is will they strike back? Because literally just a few moments ago, President Trump put this out on Truth Social. He said, Israel, do not drop those bombs. If you do it, it is a major violation. Bring your pilots home now. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. So because of the back and forth and for the accusations of violation by Israel against Iran, President Trump is really not saying that's a very serious violation. So he's asking Israel to stop it and obviously asking Iran to stop it as well. If they did go, they would likely hit many of the targets have been hitting inside Tehran in the last few days. But it seems like right now President Trump is trying to enforce this ceasefire, which he just announced last night. And once again, this is just another, major shift in what's going on. Saturday night, we had Midnight Hammer when they hit Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. And we thought then the next day he was talking, President Trump, about regime change. Then last night we had missiles fired at Qatar. And so now we have a ceasefire in effect, and seems like President Trump really wants to enforce it.
Is there concern there in Israel that Iran is simply stalling with the ceasefire and wants to rebuild its nuclear program?
Yeah, very much. And I think at the end of our story, we said, you know, the head of the Iranian Atomic Energy Organization said they want to restart it. So I think they want to repair the nuclear facilities, accelerate its nuclear program, and the weaponization. The question some are asking is, where is that enriched uranium that was, people don't know exactly where it was. Some people think it was in Fordow and probably was destroyed in that strike by the U.S. Also, people should realize, for an Islamic point of view, they have something called a hudna, which is a temporary truce to regain strength and then fight their enemies again. Already, the Islamic regime, they're claiming victory despite the massive damage to its nuclear and ballistic missiles programs. We'll see in the next few weeks and months whether or not the ceasefire holds and whether Iran, the regime, continues its nuclear and ballistic missile programs.
Chris, why did Israel accept the ceasefire?
Well, they said in an announcement they achieved their goals. They destroyed the two existential threats to Israel, Iran's nuclear program and the ballistic missile program. They eliminated much of Iran's senior military leadership, many of their nuclear scientists. In fact, one was eliminated just last night. In all of this 12-day war, about 500 missiles were launched by Iran, interception rate of about 83%. They also damaged or destroyed all of Iran's air defenses, their ballistic missiles and launchers, with miraculously no loss of pilots or planes. And the number of casualties, as bad as they were 90%, 97% lower than estimated. And also you have monumental success. Many see what happened in the last 12 days as a miracle.
What's the prevailing thought in Israel when it comes to regime change in Iran? Could it happen?
Well, it could happen. It's the hope and prayer of many for a regime that really, for the last 46 years, has killed many of its own people and, you know, killed thousands of people throughout the Middle East, and especially Americans as well. Israel inflicted substantial damage to the levers of the regime powers. And that's what Michael Oren was referring to in our report. Bashiz is one of them. These are the thugs that attack people during protests, the IRGC headquarters. And so we'll just see. But right now, we have seen protests in the past. Now that the regime is so weakened, it remains to be seen if the protests would have the ability to go ahead and overturn a weakened Islamic regime.
What can you tell us about the attack there on Beersheba?
Well, right now that Julie Stahl is down there right now, she'll have a report. We know that several have died. I think maybe as five have died. That took place literally just as the ceasefire was going into effect. And tragically, it hit people actually that were in their safe room. You know, it can withstand, you know, an attack that hits a little bit away from it, but a direct hit on a safe room is just too much. Tragically, they died, and it's tragic that literally happened in the last few minutes of the ceasefire.
What about the Iranian attack on the U.S. base in Qatar? What's that? Was that just something for Iran to save face after the U.S. strikes? What are you thinking there?
It really seems that way, Ephraim, and that was one thing that in the midst of all the news going on, it almost got overshadowed. So what happened on Monday night, Iran fired dozens of missiles at the U.S. base in Qatar. What happened before that is that literally the base was evacuated, and despite the attack, President Trump decided not to respond. And many see this as just a face-saving gesture to Iran after Saturday night's Midnight Hammer operation that really destroyed much of Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. It's very similar to what happened after a massive attack on Iran's, you know, in 2020. That's when the U.S. eliminated Qasem Soleimani, the head of the IRGC. Iran hit a U.S. base believe it or not, in coordination with the U.S. No one was killed in that. Iran saved face, and that seemed to be the end of the incident. And I believe the same thing happened last night. Really, it was a bit of theater here in the Middle East.
So much to cover on all fronts today. What do you have for us on Jerusalem Dateline?
Well, we have more from Julie Stahl. She'll be on the scene from Beersheba. We have an interview with Lana Silk. She's a CEO of Transform Iran, just bringing the gospel to the people inside Iran. She talks about the underground church and how it has blossomed, many people coming to faith through dreams and visions. Also talking about what's happening inside Iran right now. Also a story on how Israel is preparing to take care of casualties in this war with an underground hospital. That'll be on this today's Jerusalem Dateline.
All right. Thank you so much. Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell, we appreciate your insights and look forward to hearing more from you in the days ahead this week. Stay safe. I want to remind you at home, you can see the latest from Jerusalem Dateline at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can find it on the CBN News channel. You can also watch it on the CBN News app as well as on YouTube. When Iran began launching missile attacks, CBN Israel took action, bringing hope and help to Israelis in their time of great need. Our Julie Stahl has this story.
The city of Bat Yam, south of Tel Aviv, became one of the first cities hit as Iran inundated the area with missiles. The strike caused one building to collapse, sheared another in two, and damaged apartments for blocks.
We know that our enemies tried to target civilians, but this is why starting tomorrow we're going to rebuild this area. We have 75 buildings that took a hit.
Nearly 800 people were made homeless by the hit of one Iranian missile. The Israeli government does all that it can to help, but the needs are enormous. Because of you, CBN Israel is stepping up to help.
We were in touch with the Ministry of Welfare here in the city of Bat Yam, finding out where we can help and what we can do. And we're going to be helping to evacuate residents, specifically those with disabilities and the elderly, to a hotel in the country, in a safe place in the country, until they can get back on their feet.
CBN Israel Communications Director Nicole Jansezian told us people have needs beyond government assistance.
We're going to help with the people who fall between the cracks and get them a place to live for who knows how long.
Jansezian explains how quickly the devastation impacted this community.
They have nothing. They can't even go back into their houses. I heard somebody pleading with the security, just let me in. I just need to get something. I mean, all their memories, and all their belongings just gone in 1 second.
Within hours, CBN Israel helped those displaced from their homes gather whatever they could salvage and took them to a hotel in another city. CBN Israel is also offering counseling for those dealing with trauma.
Immediately after the attacks started on Thursday night, Friday morning, CBN Israel opened a hotline for people who need trauma counseling, need somebody to talk to, get some kind of counseling or care.
Work towards a resilient center will go on despite the ongoing threat of missiles.
But we will be running it virtually, as we already have it off the ground, just to reach out to people who need that kind of support immediately.
She says CBN Israel wants to meet needs as quickly as possible, as well as helping victims recover from trauma over the long term. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Bat Yam, Israel.
If you'd like to support CBN Israel, you can simply go to cbn.com/help Israel, or you can text Help Israel to 71777. Coming up here at home, it is hot enough. A powerful heat wave striking large parts of the country with temperatures near or above 100 degrees in some places. We're going to have that story for you when we come back. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. The intense and historic weather is cooking much of America with triple-digit heat that hasn't been seen in some places in more than a decade. CBN's Charlene Aaron has the story.
The intense and historic weather is cooking much of America with triple-digit heat that hasn't been seen in some places in more than a decade. The calendar says June, but the hot temperatures feel more like deep summer as extreme heat grips the country.
It's boiling. It feels like over 100 degrees out of here. It's very hot.
In New York, temperatures near 100, the hottest since 1888. In Baltimore Monday, humidity made it feel like 113. Most of the northeastern part of the country, from Minnesota to Maine, is under some type of heat advisory. In Paterson, New Jersey, more than 160 people attending graduation ceremonies were treated for heat-related illnesses. In Philadelphia, power outages caused by the strain on the power grid stranded people on a subway for more than an hour with no air conditioning. In some cities, the heat is buckling roads and causing problems for drivers. As high temperatures continue, doctors warn to look for signs of heat stroke, like if someone stops sweating and they're confused or slur their speech.
Get to a hospital, get to treatment very quickly, because you need to be cooled down before your brain actually literally starts cooking.
We have to drink plenty of fluids and try to go indoors where there's air conditioning to get out of the heat and humidity at various times in the day.
Meanwhile, meteorologists say the dangerous heat will continue throughout at least Wednesday. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Still ahead, the importance of prayer and fasting for your spiritual life and how it can make a difference. We're going to bring you that interview right after this. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. These days, people are concerned about world unrest, health problems, finances, and so much more. While issues like these may be uppermost on our minds, far too many Christians overlook a way God sometimes chooses to intervene. Pastor Ronnie Floyd has written a book called The Supernatural Power of Prayer and Fasting, examples he's pulled from his own life. He spoke with CBN's Lori Johnson on this week's episode of Healthy Living.
The Lord has used prayer and fasting in my life, even as a college student. That's when I learned and began to test, if you may, what it really means. No one ever taught me this is how you do this, but I heard someone talk about, when you fast the way God wants you to fast, there's no telling what God will do with you. And that intrigued me, and I began the journey. And then, of course, when I entered my 20s, I began to test it more and more. I became a pastor at that time. And all these years since that time, God has developed, not just once, not just twice, but again and again and again. I think there were two remarkable moments that I can recount quickly for your viewers and listeners today. First of all, back in 1990, my wife Gina was diagnosed with cancer. We had two little boys, and I was pastoring a very large church in the state of Arkansas that I stayed for over 32 years as pastor. It rattled our life. It rattled our world. After going to MD Anderson and Houston, Texas, and learning that her cancer was aggressive, I felt immediately that God wanted me to pray and fast for my wife to be healed one day a week. And God gave me a Bible promise over in Isaiah 43, 1, 2, and 3, and stood on that promise every week when I fasted and prayed and asked God to heal Gina. Long story short, Gina's alive today, and we're grateful to God all these years that God has kept her past that first year or so being cancer-free. You know, she was young, she was visible, people saw her all the time. I think she missed only church only one time that entire year of extreme chemotherapy treatment and radiation treatment and surgery and all those matters. And we give God the praise. And so God built my life a lot of faith in the ministry of prayer and fasting through that journey. And there were others, and there were so many, and the book recounts a lot of those. But one of the most remarkable things happened in 1995, just 5 years later, post that time. And God called me one morning early to fast and pray for revival in my life, for revival in our church, and revival in America. And he really laid upon me the deep, deep need our nation had. And I went into that journey once I learned about long-term fasting a little bit. And God changed my life. He revolutionized my life. He really brought genuine spiritual revival into my life that totally transformed me and transformed my church. When I shared that journey with the church, God came in great revival on June the 4th in that year, 1995. And our church is still impacted today because of what God did in those days of great, great, profound movements of the Spirit. And the Lord gave me and has put upon me a deep, deep love for this nation and a deep commitment to prayer and to fasting and to trusting God that there will truly be a day, Lori, one day, that God will bring a mighty spiritual revival and awakening to America that will transcend all generations, all denominations, all cultures, all races, and all ethnic boundaries. And I still pray and I still believe, God, that we will see that day one day in the future.
Again, that book is called Supernatural Power of Prayer and Fasting, and you can find out more about the various ways to fast if you've never done it before, or how to grow in the practice on this week's edition of Healthy Living. It airs today on the CBN News Channel at 2:30 and 8:30 Eastern. You can also see it on the CBN News app or on YouTube. We're coming back with an encouraging word for your day ahead. Stay with us. And welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. Time now for your Tuesday tweetables. Stay in your lane. Know this: God has given you grace to run your race. Don't look to the left. Don't look to the right. Those races don't matter. He set the pace for your race, so get to running. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time, as well as online, cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Of course, that is formerly known as Twitter. Make this a terrific Tuesday and come back and join us right here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye. God bless. Thank you for watching.